Tonight's episode of Legacy Battle is brought to you by Atlas Benefits.
Atlas Benefits has solutions for your insurance needs. Atlas Benefits can help you obtain Medicare, health, or life insurance and employee benefits. You can find them on the web at www.atlasbenefits.com.
Or you can contact Rob Ducey or Roy Smith at 727-600-2892 and mention Legacy Battle Podcast. Atlas Benefits has all the solutions for your insurance needs. Enjoy the show. This is Legacy Battle. Make sure you hit subscribe on whatever you're listening to. YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Safari, Google Podcasts, Facebook, you name it. Hit that subscribe button. I am Michael Adams, creator of Legacy Battle. My panelists tonight from the Gridiron Battle Zone, Brian King. From Steelers Nation South, Rollo Cawthon. Penn State Collegiate All-Star, Kevin Adams. Our special guest tonight is a former NHL goaltender. We're talking hockey, not soccer tonight, goaltender. 16 years with the Caps and 1 season with Tampa Bay. He's a 2-time All-Star, first-team All-NHL. You may disagree with this upcoming comment, but he is the single-handed reason why they made it to the Stanley Cup Finals. I'm sure he disagrees with that, but in '98, it was Ole the goalie. Listen to this trophy case: King Clancy, Prince of Wales, Jack A. Butterfield, Hap Holmes Memorial Award, 2000 Vezina winner. Probably the best goalie. I don't think there's a lot of argument in it in Capitals history. Ole Kolzig. Ole, thank you for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me. There'd be some argument. I would give Braden Holtby a few votes there.
Yeah, he was solid too, but you had the longevity, so I'm giving it to you.
Okay.
So our debate tonight, we're going to be debating some goalies of an era here tonight. 4 goalies. We'll give out some info, vote at the end of the night, see who we thought was the best. That's why we brought on a Vezina winner here in Ole. And we'll have a Q&A with him after the debate. So we're going to start tonight with the Dominator, Dominic Kasich.
All right, Dominic Kasich, the Dominator. Played professionally from 1980 to 2011, 31 years. Wait, did I just say 1980? Kasich got his pro start at the age of 16. In the Czech Extraliga. He was the youngest professional hockey player ever. By 1986, he started a 4-season streak of winning goaltender of the year for that league. And he won the Golden Hockey Stick for league MVP in 87, 89, and 90. And he helped his team to league championships in 87 and 89. So a great career even before he got to the NHL. In 1991, he makes his NHL debut with the Chicago Blackhawks, backing up Eddie Belfor. We'll get more to Eddie later on. In the 91-92 Stanley Cup Finals, he really sort of put himself out there when he really wowed the crowd with a couple of amazing stops against Kevin Stevens and Mario Lemieux on breakaways during the finals there. This attracted a lot of attention from NHL GMs. In the summer of 1992, Buffalo Sabres acquired Kasich, and a year later, he secured the starting job. He immediately rewarded Buffalo's trust in him by winning not 1, not 2. All right, I'm not going to do the LeBron thing, but he won 6 Vezina trophies between 1994 and 2001. Only Jim Carey and some guy named Olaf Kolzig were able to break that streak of Vezina trophies during that span of time. So now I know Kevin, he loves the stats and everything. So I'm going to throw out some of Kasich's stats that I'm very impressed with. 6 consecutive seasons, the Dominator led the NHL in save percentage. And his .922 save percentage is the best career total in NHL history. He had back-to-back seasons. He had the lowest goals against average. His career average of 2.20 is lower than any of the goalies we were talking about tonight. And how about shutouts? Kasich led the NHL 4 times, and his 13 shutouts in the 97-98 season is the 4th highest total in NHL history. So enough stats. Let's talk about trophies. In 1998, Kasich became the first goaltender in NHL history to win the Hart Trophy for most outstanding player in the league a second time. And twice with the Detroit Red Wings, he hoisted the Stanley Cup at the end of the season. And he was very close to another one with the Sabres, but there was that whole Brett Hull thing. Not going to get into that. Moving on. There was no goaltender quite like the Dominator. He was possibly the most flexible goalie the game's ever seen. And he made many highlight reel type miracle saves with that patented flop and Kasich roll. We all know about it. So I truly believe that this legend is the goaltender GOAT.
I'll just point out that when we had Kevin Stevens on, he said that Brett Hall was a good goal. He called it a good goal. So
it was controversial. It's
controversial. There you go. All right. Ole, let me come to you. Dominic Kasich's playing style. It was a style of his own, really. I mean, you can't call it butterfly. You could just call it maybe flop and roll around. What are your thoughts on the Dominator style? And he led some teams that weren't super talented otherwise to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, his style was unique. To the casual observer, it probably looked like he didn't know what he was doing out there. But believe me, he did. And I think that was probably Dom's biggest strength, is that he always kept shooters guessing. With the other goalies that are mentioned, that you're going to mention in this podcast, they all had pretty much consistent styles. You kind of knew how they played. But with Dom, he was a very, very, very smart player. And, I was really thinking going into this podcast, about who the GOAT is, and, you got all these stats, and I really think that he is probably the one that should be the GOAT, even though he doesn't get the attention that, say, a Waugh or Brodeur does, just because of what he's done with the teams he's been on. I mean, you look at his awards. I mean, it's incredible that, a goaltender wins 1 Hart Trophy, much less 2. 2-time Stanley Cup champion, 6 Vezinas. I mean, I think part of the reason I won my Vezina is because Dom was hurt most of the year that year. And I think I actually thanked him in my acceptance speech when I got the award. I actually thanked him for missing that year. I really truly believe that he I don't think you'll ever see a goalie quite like that. I think Tim Thomas maybe was a close second, but it wasn't nearly the type of obviously dominance that Dom had.
Kevin, back in that time period, if you wanted to win a Stanley Cup, you went to the team that bought it all the time, Detroit. What are your thoughts on that?
It was definitely his time. He was due to win one. I don't think he was going to win one in Buffalo. So him going over to Detroit, he was close. He was. Close. And but I think Detroit always had the star power. I mean, we had the one show we talked about their one team in '98. They had like 12 Hall of Famers.
No, that was the 2002 team you were talking about.
2002 team.
Hall and Robitaille and all them.
Well, I think even the 98 team that I had repped, they had like 11 or 12 Hall of Famers on it. Yeah, I mean, he went there and he got his cup, and well deserved. I mean, his career, he has the numbers. He should have gotten a championship, and I'm glad that he did with my second favorite team, Detroit.
But we'll see if he gets the votes later on tonight. Let's move on to Patrick Waugh.
St. Patrick, to me, the greatest goalie ever, because a lot of the goalies we see now emulate his butterfly style. So, I mean, when you can inspire a generation of players to play much like you, that says a lot about your legacy. But talking about St. Patrick, he played 11 years with the Montreal Canadiens, 8 years with the Avalanche, won 2 Stanley Cup titles for each franchise. in 2004 and 2021, he was selected by the Pro Sports Writers greatest goalie of all time. And he came in. I mean, when he was his rookie year, he averaged 3.36 goals against average. Throughout the rest of his career, only one season did he have over three goals against. In 89, 90, 92, he shared he won the Vezina Trophy. 87, 88, 89, he won the Jennings Trophy that he shared with Brian Hayward. In 92 and 2002, he won the Jennings Trophy. He's got the most postseason wins ever, as you guys know. And when I talk about, greatest players of all time, I always mention their postseason marks. In the 4 Stanley Cup runs that they made when he was the goalie, in 85, 86, his regular season goals against average was 3.36 with a 87% win percentage. In the playoffs, it was 1.93 goals against and a 92% save average. In 92, 93, he had a 3.2 goals against average with an 89% save percentage. And then in the playoffs, he upped it again, 2.13 goals against with a 92% save percentage. And in 95, 96, 2.6 goals against with a 90% save percentage in the regular season. And in the playoffs, 2.1 the goals against average with a 92% save percentage. And in one of his finest seasons that he had in 2000, 2001, he had a 2.2 goals against average in the regular season with a 91% save percentage. And then the playoffs, 1.7 goals against average with a 93% save percentage. That's incredible. 1.7. That's less than 2 goals a game. I mean, that's incredible. He's a member. He was inducted to the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2006. And of all these goalies we're going to talk about tonight, he's the only one with the Conn Smythe Trophy. The only one. And he has 3 of them. Not one, like Brian said, not 1, not 2, 3. So that's why he, in my opinion, is the greatest hockey goalie of all time.
That there's a stat that's going to be hard to argue. He's also part of a very short list of goalies that won the Stanley Cup on 2 different teams. Mike Vernon comes to mind. I can't think of any more offhand. But Oli, I want to ask you about what, in my opinion, was the second biggest trade in NHL history. I mean, what were your thoughts on how Patrick kind of worked his way out of Montreal there, and what do you think of him as a goalie?
Well, first of all, I actually was watching that game live when it was Tremblay, I believe, was let him in, or kept him in the net for all those goals against. I felt like there was obviously something behind the scenes that the head coach wanted to prove to his starting goalie, and it obviously backfired. I've gotten to know Patrick a little bit. We both had Craig Billington as partners. When Billard came to Washington, we went to Colorado, and Billard set up a dinner which could be, in my eyes, probably one of the greatest dinners I've ever had. It was Patrick Waugh, Ray Bork, Adam Oates, Chris Simon, myself, Craig Billington, and it was just an absolute pleasure to sit there and listen to Patrick talk. Very, very passionate person. I mean, you guys have all seen that when he played, when he coached. I obviously, along with all the other goaltenders, either during or after his introduction to the NHL, started to play more like Patrick with that butterfly style. He didn't, obviously he didn't invent the style, but he refined it. And I think there are a lot of goalies, especially during my era, that can attribute the way they played thanks to Patrick. You cannot argue with I've got another good friend of mine, Carey Price, plays for the Canadians, and I always thought that Carey has the perfect demeanor to play in a city like Montreal. It is not a very easy place to play. It's not a very easy place to play as a goalie. And for what Patrick did, especially being a Quebec kid, a local kid, to go in there in his first year, win a Stanley Cup, to put up all those records that he did under that scrutiny, under that pressure, the 3 Conn Smythe trophies. Again, it is such, if it's not Dom, it's Patrick. If it's not Pat, it's such a fine line And you cannot argue with what Patrick's done in the playoffs. There's no question. At the end of the day, really, as goalies, you do get graded on what you did in the playoffs. A lot of luck has to come with that. Your team has to be playing well, things like that. But for what he's done consistently throughout his career, especially come May through June, is phenomenal. And it's 6 one way, half a dozen the other with those two guys.
Brian, any goalie come to mind that was more willing to drop the gloves and fight than Patrick Wall?
Well, maybe Ron Hextall. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, Ron Hextall. But yeah, aside from those two, then I can't really think of any.
I can't remember how many times we've talked about the wars of Detroit and Colorado on this show, but it's come up quite a bit. All right, let's move on to our next goalie. That's going to be Martin Brodeur.
Brodeur, drafted by New Jersey in 1990, was the 20th overall pick. He played 22 seasons in the NHL, 21 of them with New Jersey. In his final season, he finished up with St. Louis, but he only had played 7 games with them. He won 3 Stanley Cups with New Jersey, 5 Eastern Conference championships, 17 postseason chances there that they made. Brodeur holds numerous NHL and franchise records for goaltenders. He ranks as the league's all-time regular season leader in wins, 691 wins, losses 397, shutouts 125, playoff shutouts 24, over 28,500 saves, and 1,266 games played. He won at least 30 games in 12 straight seasons between 95 and 08, and is the only goalie in NHL history to have 8 40-win seasons. He's a 4-time Vezina Trophy winner, 5-time William Jennings Trophy winner, a 10-time NHL All-Star. He also won the Calder Memorial Trophy in the minors. He is one of only 12 NHL goaltenders to score a goal, which none of your goalies have scored goals in the regular season, and only the second to do so in the playoffs. His 3 goals are the most of NHL goaltenders. He was a hybrid goalie. He played both stand-up, butterfly. He was very good with the puck. He had good puck handling skills, great reflexes, great glove. His puck handling, though, is what created the trapezoid behind the goal. And they actually called it the Brodeur role, where they changed it to where the goalies can only play the puck in that trapezoid behind the net, because his skills were that good. He had retired in the middle of the 2014-15 season when he was with the Blues. He won 2 Olympic gold medals in 2002 and 2010 with Team Canada. He won a couple other championship medals, international competitions with Team Canada. He is one of the greatest of all time. In 2017, he was added to the 100 greatest NHL players list, and in 2018, he was elected into the Hall of Fame. He finished his career with a .912 save percentage, 2.24 goals allowed, 9.19 save percentage, and 2.02 goals allowed in the playoffs, 45 assists, and 47 points. And I'm going to give you this one little tidbit that I think bumps him over the other goalies that we're talking about tonight. He's the only goalie that we're talking about tonight that was featured on EA Sports NHL cover. Come on. 2000, I think it was 2000, 14 or something? He was on the cover. None of your goalies were on the EA Sports NHL cover.
So your trapezoid comment, I believe it had more to do with the trap than it did Brodeur, because if they didn't put it in for Tom Barrasso, who spent his entire career behind the goal, then I don't think they were putting it in just for Brodeur. But I digress. Oli, let me ask you the question that is always asked about Brodeur. He played behind the greatest defensive system probably ever created by an NHL coach. I mean, does that inflate his numbers?
It might inflate his numbers, but I don't think it takes anything away from him as a goaltender. If you talk to any goaltender, they'll tell you that the hardest games to play are the ones where you're not getting a lot of action. And the thing that excelled Marty, or made Marty so great, is he could play any type of game. He could play a game where he's getting 15 shots and he makes that 1 or 2 big saves. His team gets 1 goal, they win 1-0. Or the team is, brutal, whatever, banged up. he gets 45 shots and the team wins 2-1. He just had that ability. I think what he had between the ears probably sets him apart from a lot of goaltenders, maybe aside from Patrick. But I obviously we both kind of broke in at the same time. I played a lot of games against Marty, and more times than not, I came out on the losing end. But I mean, he's played almost 1,270 games in the regular season, another over 200 in the playoffs. I mean, that is just crazy. I had a fantastic career, and I just played over 700. When you think that he's played, 70% more games than I did, and we broke into at the same time, that just says a lot about his durability, his competitiveness, and a lot of his success too, as far as individual awards, came later in his career. I don't think he won a Vezina Trophy until, early mid 2000s. I'm not
2003.
maybe
Yeah.
I'm on there, but I mean, whereas younger guys, they usually win those awards early in their career, and then they just, they manage to survive the rest of the way. He got better and better, and you can arguably say that his teams defensively they got worse and worse, and yet his numbers remain the same. Again, in my list, he's third. But again, I mean, tomorrow it could be first on my list. This is such a hard thing to determine. I mean, it really is. There's just so many different variables. They're not all the same type goalie. Where Patrick was regimented, butterfly, Dom was all over the map. Marty was a combination, and Marty wore undersized gear. He could have wore bigger gear for his size, but he chose not to, just because it made him more mobile than that. I thought out of the three, he probably tracked the puck better. His instincts, I think, reading the play was maybe a touch better. And his puck handling was probably, second, maybe it might have even been better than Hextall, because I think he made better decisions with the puck. But right today he's third on my list, but that is just, it's a marginal difference.
Much like seeing you in a Tampa Bay Lightning jersey, it was very hard seeing Brodeur in a St. Louis Blues jersey.
Very forgettable in my case.
It was forgettable in his case as well. I think they were one and done. I think they were knocked out in the first round. But
yeah, I think he went through the same thing I did. I probably should have retired my last year in Washington. I think the same could have been, said for him in Jersey. But it's that pride thing. You want to try to do it somewhere else, and you should know better when to just call it a career.
Well, let's move on to our final goalie tonight, and that was a guy who had no problem changing teams quite often. That's going to be Eddie the Eagle, Ed Belfor. So 17-year career spanning from 89 to 07. So check this out. Eddie the Eagle, his goaltending coach, might have been the greatest goalie of all time, Vladislav Tretiak from Team Russia. So learned from the best, absolutely right there. I played with Chicago, San Jose, Dallas, Toronto, and Florida. He's led the league in wins, saves, save percentage, goals against average, shutouts more than a few times. So he's got all those accolades on him. 6-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year. So he got the Calder Trophy in his hardware there. He's got the Vezina twice as well. 4 times with that William Jennings Trophy. I know that's kind of like a combination thing, but he's still got 4 of them. He was on the all-rookie team, 2-time first NHL, all NHL team. He's also on the second all NHL team. Of course, he's a Hall of Famer. All these guys are obviously Hall of Famers tonight. Went in on his first year in 2011. He's one of only 2 players to win a Stanley Cup, Olympic gold medal, and an NCAA championship. The other was Neil Broughton, who wasn't a goalie, so he won that with Team USA there in the Olympics in 1980. But and Belfor also has a gold at the Canada Cup. So if you throw that in, he's the only player to have all 4 of those. That is a nice accolade, something he can hang his hat on. So I have the highest mountain to climb here tonight. I'm not going to pretend that I don't here. So let me start with Hasek. In Chicago, Belfor started over Hasek. When time came to move one of them, we're talking about some guys here who know hockey, Tretiak and Mike Keenan. They chose to move Hasek, not Belfor. So that's what I'll say for Hasek.
That's a reach, man.
Yeah, wasn't Hasek like a rookie or something, or like in his second year?
And Hasek won 6 Vezinas after that trade. Come on.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Remember in that, the year the Penguins faced the Blackhawks, they pulled Belfor.
Please, Mike Keenan pulls his goalie like I pull a piece of bread out of the bread drawer. It's like all the time. So at Belfor, he took 2 different teams to the Stanley Cup Finals with 3 trips total, because he got Chicago there and he got Dallas there twice. So he didn't have Brodeur's defensive system in front of him, especially when he was in Chicago. Keenan was run and gun, wear you out type coach. Now he did a little bit with Hitchcock in Dallas, but and then just one final stat that I thought was pretty cool. Belfor, he had a bit of a temper as well. He wouldn't take crap from anybody. 380 penalty minutes. That is good for 4th all time. And that puts him behind Hextall, Billy Smith, and Barrasso. So, he didn't take any crap either. I would have thought Wall had a lot more penalty minutes than what he did, but apparently he didn't. So Belfor's 4th all time in that. So, Ole, like I said, I had a high hill to climb. What are your thoughts on Eddie the Eagle? He moved around a lot. I don't know if it was because he was wearing out his welcome or he just wanted to leave. But what are your thoughts on him as a goaltender?
I think it's a little bit of I think that's a little bit of truth to that. Eddie did kind of wear guys thin a little bit, but he's one of those guys, along with those other 3, that who do you want in the net in a game 7 when the game's on the line? I mean, he's right up there with one of those guys, and he might not have had the defensive help that Marty had, but obviously with those, I look at the teams in Chicago and Dallas. The offense was there. So, as a goaltender, when you're getting a lot of offense, there's still a little bit of freedom in there, and maybe you don't play quite as tense. But again, you can't argue with what Eddie did. I mean, he played 1 year in college and won the NCAA. I personally have a bad, just from a personal meeting or personal confrontation I had with Eddie at an All-Star game. I kind of have a bad taste in my mouth from him. So obviously my opinion is a little tainted, but you can't argue with the numbers, just under 1,000 games. 920 save percentage in the playoffs, 2 cups. I mean, what can you say? He's a Hall of Famer, and there's a reason why he's in the Hall of Fame. But on this list, in my opinion, he's 4th.
You are not the only player to tell me that there's a bad taste in Eddie Belfor, so it's all good. Don't worry about that.
Apparently, he makes a pretty good whiskey.
Oh, okay.
I think he runs a distillery now with his son in Dallas.
All right, there you go.
So my opinion might change once I taste the whiskey.
There you go.
All right, fair enough. All right, so we got our full goalies. So now we're going to move into our vote. Brian, you're up in my upper corner there. Who you taking? Can't pick your own, guys.
All right. Well, I've been bouncing back and forth all night as I heard all you guys. You guys did a great job, breaking these goalies down. For me, I think I got to go with Patrick Waugh. He just sort of set that standard, and I mean he stayed good for a long time too. So I'm going to go with him.
Rollo.
I probably saw Brodeur play the most because he played against the Penguins the most.
Oh, you went on mute.
He was 48, 28, and 5 against the Penguins. So I'm going to have to go with Brodeur.
Brodeur. All right. Kevin?
Smart man, Rollo. Smart man. Brodeur had 60 more shutouts than Patrick Waugh. 60. 50 more than Belfor, and 40 more than
The arguments are over. What's your vote?
Just throwing it out there. Man, this is tough. I agree that Belfor is number 4 on this list, so I'm definitely not going with him. So it comes down to Dominator or Waugh, and Waugh always kicked me off against my Detroit Red Wings. Hasek played for my Red Wings. I just feel like Waugh was a better goalie than Hasek. Not better than Brodeur, but he's better than Hasek, so I'm going to go with Waugh.
So I'm going to go next here. Here's the thing. I knew Belfor didn't have a chance, so I'll just throw that out there. I cannot vote for Brodeur, Kevin. I'm sorry. I just cannot vote for him. I feel that trap. I mean, they've done everything to eliminate the trap now in the NHL with the rules. So that just irritates me. So I can't vote for Brodeur. Now, between Waugh and Hasek, like, it comes down to this. If I'm in a 7-game series, this is really weird, but, like, I feel like in a 7-game series, I want Waugh, but if I want to win 1 game, I want Hasek. So that makes it really hard for me to decide, but I think I'm going to go with Waugh because he did it. He did it in Montreal. Winning in Canada, there's a lot more pressure on you. So I'm going to take Waugh. Ole, on to you.
Yeah, I think I'm taking Patrick too for that same reason. With what he did in that city, it's like a quarterback in Dallas or a pitcher for the Yankees. I mean, if you can do it there, you can do it anywhere. And I mean, Marty had to pass him with all the statistical records. So, yeah, Patty number 1, Dom 2, Marty 3. But again, a sliver between all 3.
So that's 3 votes for Waugh tonight, 1 for Hasek, 1 for Brodeur. Win goes to Patrick Waugh. Rollo with the win. Rollo, you got the win. You got first question for our guest tonight.
Ole, you got this great charity that's named after your son. Could you tell us a little bit about how it got started and what made you want to start the charity?
Yeah, so my son back in 2002 was diagnosed with PDD, which is a form of autism. They don't define that as PDD anymore, but and so when it was obviously devastating when my wife and I got the diagnosis. We didn't at that time didn't know a whole lot about it. We just knew it wasn't great. And after doing a lot of research on it, we became even more confused. The amount of stuff that's out there as far as therapies and everything, it was just a little too overwhelming. And so I got put in touch with Scott Mellenby, and then my best friend Byron Defoe. The following year, son got diagnosed with autism. So the 3 of us started an Athletes Against Autism charity, and shortly after we did that, I started the Kolzig Foundation for my local area here in southeastern Washington State, and basically we help fund the Responding to Autism Center, which is a facility where parents can go and they can get a diagnosis if they're unsure about their child, and then they can get directed into what services are out there that are available for them, so that they don't have to go on the internet and just be overwhelmed by all the information that's out there. And we've raised in the it's almost 20 years now, 17 years, we've raised $1.5 million for it. So obviously something near and dear to my wife's and my heart. So thanks for asking.
You can find out charity. The website is www.carsonolzigfoundation.org. So if you're listening, get on there, check it out, see what you can do, help them out, guys. Brian, go ahead.
And so in 2008, you became the goaltender of the Lightning, after so many years of Washington. And then upon your return to Washington that season, you were given a huge ovation, and your Capitals highlights were put on the Jumbotron at the MCI Center. So what did that tribute mean to you, and what message do you have for those longtime Capitals fans out there?
It probably would have meant a lot more to me, other than the fact we were down 3-0 before that first TV timeout to see that video. So I really wasn't in the best of moods at the time. but I got to watch it. I got to watch it a few days after it got emailed to me, and I watched it again, and it obviously it hit me emotionally. I mean, I had a little bit of a falling out with the Caps the year before, and in hindsight, you know, like I said earlier, like what Marty should have done, we both should have retired with the same team that drafted us, and but your ego gets the best of you, and you think you can still do it, and your mind says one thing, your body says something else, and but anyway. For the fans in Washington, they were the best. They knew about my whole falling out the year before, and I was received really well in that game. And but just throughout my career in Washington, they were always very supportive. They always had my back, even when I was going through things with my son. And now, you know, working for them in the player development department, whenever I come back in for training camp or you know, watch a game during the season, everybody's always, you know, asking me when my jersey's going to be retired and all this stuff. So it truly had a really good relationship with the city of Washington.
Kevin.
So you were on the Capitals for the debut of Ovechkin, and that battle between Crosby and Ovechkin. So tell me what it was like playing with a young Ovechkin coming into the league and seeing that rivalry between the two.
Well, he you know, Ovi came right after the lockout, so he was a beacon of hope for us, because we basically gutted our team 3 years prior, and so for 2 or 3 years we were I won't say the laughing stock, but we were going through some tough times in DC, and you know, Sid was in Pitt and Ovi was in Washington. Both teams were coming out of some very, very dark times, but you know, when he first came, we saw him at training camp and got to know him, and we knew right away this kid was special. He you know, he wasn't your typical European, especially Eastern European, who are, you know, they're standoffish, untrustworthy. You know, they kind of wait till they get to know people and they trust them before they open up. And not Ovi. He was what you see now is what Ovi was back then. He was gregarious, open, wanted to learn English, wanted to room with the North American kids so you can get to know the culture. And then obviously that rivalry with him and Sid. I mean, it was dynamite. And then, you know, you saw the evolution of the Penguins, you saw the evolution of the Capitals, and then more talent added to both teams. And yeah, Ovi and Sid were the, you know, the marquee guys. But boy, when those two teams played, it was gold on television. It was, you know, the highest viewed games during the season when they were on national TV. And but you know, to see Sid come out last year or this summer and say that he'd like to see Ovi break Gretzky's record, I mean, that says a lot about the respect they have, which is maybe something you didn't see with how they acted on the ice. But I think Sid really respects what Ovi can do, and I know in the dressing room, Ovi really respects some of what Crosby can do.
So I want to talk to you about your international play. You were in 2 Olympics there with Germany. So let's see, how do I word this one? So when you guys go into that, you know, you're playing against basically NHL all-star teams, and Germany, you guys had, you know, you had a handful of NHL players with you, but not like full roster full of all-stars. So, I mean, obviously you go in to win, but like, what is your team's thoughts when you know you're going to be playing that type of caliber opponents?
Well, there's no sugarcoating it. I mean, we knew they were the big six, and then there were the rest of us that qualified. So I think the first one we went to in Nagano, we were in flight when Germany was playing. I think it was Kazakhstan, and we had to beat Kazakhstan to get into the medal round, and they lost. So, you know, my first couple games I played against France and Slovakia, and Slovakia had they had a strong team. They had some really good NHL players. Unfortunately, they didn't qualify either. So, I mean, I had a great, you know, introduction to the Olympics. I was 2-0. But to me, that was secondary. It was the Olympic experience is second to none. You know, you're surrounded by just a number of world-class athletes, and nobody really gave a rip if you if you were the star in the NHL or you were, Joe Amateur that was working at the mill, the week before the Olympics. So everybody was just an on, and it was just a great time. I missed Salt Lake. I went to Salt Lake to be part of the team, but I'd gotten injured the day before I was supposed to leave. So I was hoping I was going to be ready for that second week in Salt Lake, but I wasn't. But it was still great to be there. And then went to Italy in Turin. So we knew it was going to be tough no matter who we played. And in Turin we played. We ended up playing Canada. I think we did respectable. I think we lost 6-2, and we got trounced by the Swedes in Salt Lake 7-1. But you know what? It was the start. It was the start of German hockey. There were noticeable guys in the league now that, not to say that I was a true German. I was German based on my parents being German. It wasn't like I was born and raised there. But, to have the youngsters there that are playing in the NHL now, seeing those guys and then wanting to be hockey players. And, I knew, was it 3 years ago that not having the NHL guys at the Olympics was going to benefit probably Germany more than any other team in that tournament, because Germany generally had the least amount of NHL guys there. And so, to think that we were 2 minutes away from winning the gold medal that year was incredible. But nonetheless, we won the silver, and that was still an accomplishment. And I think because of that, you're going to see German hockey become better and better. You see the impact with some of the players that are in the league now. German hockey is really going to be in the forefront here soon.
Your 1.00 goals against average, that may be the best all time in Olympic history. Didn't know if you knew that.
I guess, I'll just hang my hat on that. Let's hang my hat on that. We'll leave it at that.
Brian, go ahead.
Okay, well, let me take you back to March 10th, 2004 versus Buffalo. You made an amazing diving save to your left in front of a wide open net. What was going through your mind during that, and what do you remember about that play?
I can't remember 2 weeks from that, or 2 weeks ago. What do you 2004 against Buffalo? We weren't very good.
I think I got that right here. That might be it right there, the dive.
I believe it is. Yeah. It's like the first thing that comes up when you Google Olaf Kolzig.
Yeah, well, they don't teach that now in goaltending. The soccer goalie dive is kind of taken out of the playbook now. But back then, and I'd like to see more and more goalies get that back, is that instinctual part to the game where you're just doing anything and everything you can to stop the puck, even though it might not look pretty. I think a lot of these goalies now are a little too robotic, and they're really keen on getting square on every shot, which is impossible to do. Just for that image that you just showed it, I think I was locked in on a shooter who passed it off to a back door, and because I was locked in, I couldn't get there on my feet, so I just did what I thought I had to do to stop the puck, and that's what you saw that with Brodeur, you saw that with Hasek, you saw that with Belfor, you saw that with Olaf, Hextall. All those goalies of that era had that instinctual part to their game, and I wish I could see. I'd like to see more goalies bring that back a little bit.
Rollo,
Who are your top three goalies in the game right now?
Right now, I have to say Vasilevsky.
Yeah.
I know he hasn't had a great start this year with Chicago, but the team's not great either. But I was actually so shocked they traded the Vezina Trophy winner last year when Vegas traded Fleury. And until he shows me that he's declining, he's right up there. Unfortunately, he's not with Montreal right now, but Carey Price, especially with the run he had last year, I think he was getting back to his old form.
No Gibson?
What's that?
No Gibson out in Anaheim? He never has a great team.
I don't watch. Well, obviously, I'm a lot older now. I go to bed a lot earlier, but I don't watch a lot of the West Coast games. First of all, they don't intrigue me because, quite frankly, the West Coast right now is struggling. They don't have a lot of dynamite teams in San Jose, LA, or Anaheim. I mean, can't argue with the way Freddie Anderson's playing right now in Carolina. But, you know, he's obviously got to do that over the long haul, where these other three guys that I mentioned, they've done it year in and year out. So, yeah, I'd say those are my three right now.
Kevin.
I got kind of like a two-parter, but they're not related, but I just want to know. So first one is I think I read somewhere where you talked about some of the best trash talkers in the league while you were playing. So if you could just kind of go over who was the best trash talker to you, and then what did it mean to you to get that 300th win for your career?
Well, I'll answer the second one first. That was phenomenal. You know, it's a milestone that only, you know, at the time I think 20 guys had, and there's been a few more guys since then that have added to that total. But I think for me, it speaks more about my longevity than it does, I guess, my overall success, because I did start out really slow. I don't think I became a starter till 97, 98. And then I had that great, 7-8 year run, and then we dismantled the team. And then so there was a nice middle block where I did I got most of my wins, and who knows, maybe if I'd have figured it out a little bit earlier when I was younger, and we didn't blow up those teams, later on, maybe, I could have been closer to 400. But regardless, no regrets. I was fortunate that I had an organization that believed in me and gave me that amount of time to develop, and because I don't think that'd be the case nowadays with the salary cap. As far as trash talking goes, oh geez, I'm trying to remember the guys. Matthew Barnaby was up there, and I played with Barney in Rochester one year when I was loaned out. Oh God, Dale Hunter was a classic. Sean Avery, but I didn't respect Sean Avery. I just, and I don't think a lot of guys did. I know Marty didn't respect him. God, who else? Seems there was a lot more back then. Those old school guys, they had a lot of wit. Craig Berube was good, but he was on my team, fortunately. Brendan Witt was good. He was on my team. Yeah, so I don't know why I never got a lot of trash talking against me. I mean, I didn't have the penalty minutes that Eddie had, but I wasn't afraid to get in people's faces and, give them a chop here and there. So, and back then I was, one of the bigger guys. I was, 6'3", 230. And
yeah, weren't you nicknamed Godzilla?
Yeah. I got that nickname in Rochester. I was big. I was fiery. I wore my emotions on my sleeve. I came to a game one day and said, "Nobody beats Godzilla," and it kind of just stuck. So,
nice.
So we'll get you out of here with this. I'm gonna have to make it a two-parter too, because I had two questions that I really wanted to ask. So, what was not just your thoughts, but the team's thoughts when you heard the enemy, Jaromir Jagr, has been traded to the Washington Capitals, and then also you were part of the 2018 coaching staff, correct, for the Capitals?
Not 18. Oh no, yeah, no, and I'm not coaching staff, but I was player development.
Player development,
yeah.
Right,
yeah.
Right. So, I mean, you being a former goalie, what was your thoughts on them not starting Holtby in that first round of the playoffs?
So to go back to Yags, I mean, at the time, I think we were. Yeah, obviously we hated everybody from Pittsburgh, but at the time it was like, wow, we really made this deal. Like, we're getting Jaromir Jagr, and so you don't know what type of person you're getting or what type of. Yags was a very up and down player, up and down emotionally. And you could tell when he just walked through the door, if his shoulders were down, you knew he wasn't gonna have it that night. And if he came bebopping in with a smile on his face, he was going to be dominant. And I just think it was just too inconsistent. I mean, he's still a great player, but I don't think it was the player that I think we all envisioned when we played against them. But it was worth, in everybody's eyes at that point. It was worth the gamble, and it obviously just didn't work out. But yeah, at that time in 2018, up until the All-Star break, Holtz was phenomenal. He was one of the best guys in the league, and then for whatever reason, his game dropped off a little bit after the All-Star game, and Groobies took off, and coach had to make a decision going into that first round because there was a lot of pressure on us. Vince was going to be Trotsky's third year, and we had a couple disappointing exits, and so this was our window. We knew our window was starting to close a little bit as a team. So he made the decision to start Groovy based on how he was playing at the end of the season, and the logic was if he couldn't do it, that you had a world-class goaltender that could come in, and we all knew what Braden was like. We knew Braden was going to be the guy that was on the bench pouting, and in fact, I think it was probably the best thing that happened because he came in relief in game 2, and he had a bit of a chip on his shoulder, and his game just took off again, and it's exactly what our team needed, and I think everybody fed off that, and as a result, we ended up winning the Stanley Cup that year.
I represented the 2018 Capitals on a debate show here with John Leclerc was the guest that night. That team was just, you guys were loaded, and well deserved for Ovechkin. That man deserved a Stanley Cup. I know a lot of Penguins fans didn't like seeing him gated. I personally loved it. I love the way he plays hockey. Plays it hard. So
I think it was great for the game, and I think it would have been sad if he'd ended his career without winning one, and hopefully we can win another one for sure.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight, Ole Kolzig. That's just a fantastic goalkeeper right there, goaltender. Just honored to have you on. I want to remind everybody too to hit subscribe on whatever you're listening on. Also check out his charity. That's www.carsonolzigfoundation.org. So check that out, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. Have a great night.